We have a lot to cover in today's video, all kinds of NHL news from the NHL training camps, lots of injury updates. We have numerous signings. We have a big update on Patrick Kane, some trade updates on the Winnipeg Jets and their stars, Hellebuck and Scheifele. And is Trevor Zegras being severely lowballed in Anaheim? And could the Sabres try to sweep in and make a trade? We'll discuss all the latest news coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a ton of news to talk about today. Of course, with training camps opening yesterday, today the news cycle is certainly picking up a lot around the NHL and all of its teams. We got a variety of things to talk about, so let's start here. First, with news out of Chicago, they're losing one of their assistant general managers, Jeff Greenberg. Of course, he had been hired by the Blackhawks. He came over from the Chicago Cubs of Major League Baseball. He's actually returning to baseball. He's got an opportunity to become a GM of the Detroit Tigers. So he's leaving the Hawks to join the Tigers organization. So they'll likely look to replace his services somewhere here throughout the season. Several injury updates on players that were learning things. Some are other reasons too, but there's lots of players that are absent from training camp for a variety of reasons. We learned Montreal Canadian defenseman Chris Wideman is out indefinitely with a back injury. So with Wideman being out, definitely to start the season by the looks of things. I'm not sure how long, but that's going to open the door for young defensemen to certainly get more of an opportunity as well, because we kind of figured that guys like Jordan Harris and Kovacevic likely kind of, or Arbor Jacki to a degree as well, likely are the main ones. But then you've got Gooley, you've got Barron. Like, there's lots of guys mixed in with some of their veteran players that are looking for ice time. So to be honest, I don't think they'll miss Wideman. I think it's going to be great for one of their younger guys to get more of an opportunity in his absence. But certainly at some point when he does come back, it wouldn't be shocking if the Habs try to move him, because if they really, I don't think they're going to miss him too much with the amount of young depth that they have on that roster. The Calgary Flames got some unfortunate news too. Oliver Shillington, who did not play last year, of course reported for training camp, was expecting to play, and I know a lot of Flames fans and the team was excited to get him back. But during the medical and fitness testing, they determined, for I'm not sure the reason because we don't know, that he's going to be unable to participate at the beginning of training camp. So they've classified it a personal and private matter. Of course, they're not telling us anything further, so we don't really know. So I don't know if there was some sort of injury that he, that nobody knew about, or did they uncover a medical issue that he didn't know about? We don't really know. But all we know is, unfortunately for Shillington and the Flames, he's not able to participate right now, and they haven't really given us any reasons or timetable, so we don't really know what to make of that. So that's really unfortunate news. I know the Flames, like I said, and their fan base was really looking forward to getting him back, and I'm sure he will be at some point. We just don't know what or how long or how things are working with that. We know that Logan Couture in San Jose, also like Wideman's, considered out indefinitely. I'm not sure how long he will be out, but he came to camp with an injury. So the Sharks captain won't be available for at least the first little while. Cale Makar's day-to-day for the Avalanche as well. So certainly not good news for him coming to camp with an injury. Ryan Hartman in Minnesota seems to be dealing with some sort of injury as well. He had left the ice early today. And Vancouver Canucks forward Ilya Mikheyev left camp for personal reasons as well. We did learn later on, it sounds like it's some sort of family issue, because we've heard numerous reporters confirm that he himself personally is okay, and that they don't know exactly when he'll be back, but it doesn't sound like it should be too long. It sounds like some sort of personal family issue. Hopefully he can return in the not too distant future. So that's a lot that we've learned. Another big injury too that we learned more about today, of course, is Patrick Kane, who's recovering from hip surgery. Based on comments from Kane, he should be ready in about a month or so. So that likely, if he were to sign a contract at this point, he's probably going to miss, I would say, the first couple of weeks of the NHL season, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, and then he should be good to go. So it's not going to be a super prolonged absence here. Apparently, he's been living and rehabbing in Toronto. Now, Darren Dreger of TSN, when he put this information and report out on Kane earlier, made mention of the Buffalo Sabres having interest in Kane. Of course, that's where he's originally from, is the Buffalo area, so it'll be a homecoming for him. But at this point, we also don't know what kind of contract he'd be looking for. He clearly wants to be in a good situation where he has a chance to win based on his previous comments that he had made a few weeks ago. But, what exactly he wants for money and what teams can make that work, it's hard to say. Clearly, he's not a $10 million player like he was on his last contract, but, he can still be fairly productive, at least based on what we know of him. So we don't really know what he and his agent are looking for. And he's rep by Pat Brisson, who's one of the best negotiators in hockey as well. So it'll be interesting to learn more about Kane. The fact that he's already living in Toronto, I'm sure that's kind of got some Leaf fans up, wondering if he'll come to Toronto. There was some speculation about it before. I don't know how serious it was, but we know obviously that he probably wouldn't mind playing with Austin Matthews. There's been a link there before, but again, hometown Buffalo was interesting. I know he really enjoyed his time with the Rangers. I have no idea if they can make it work. Most of these teams would have to make trades to free up money because most teams are kind of up against it. Buffalo might be an easier spot to make it work, but at the end of the day, we'll see what happens with Kane. But that's the latest timetable and rumors surrounding that star player. We also got news out of Edmonton today. Michael Parcati, who becomes the Senior Director of Data and Analytics. So it's a new department that he's going to be leading the creation and operation of for the new analytics department with the Oilers. So I know a lot of people seem to be saying a lot of good things, not somebody I'm familiar with, but I know he's obviously worked in the analytics world and seems to be having a lot of good references. So it seems like he should be a good fit there at Edmonton as they try to use that more for their services. It's a common thing. Teams are certainly using analytics more and more all the time. Now, as I mentioned, we also have some signings today. We've got a few signings. The Winnipeg Jets have signed 23 first-round pick, an 18th overall left-winger Colby Barlow from the OHL. He was a late-round steal, in my opinion. Of course, he came to rookie camp, looked pretty good, and he gets his 3-year ELC officially on the books. The Calgary Flames have signed Parker Bell. He's 6'4", 205 pounds. It was a 5th-round pick in 2022 from the WHL's Tri-City Americans. So obviously another good-sized player there for the Flames. And the Ottawa Senators signed somebody who was invited to camp as on an amateur tryout. And that's Jebel Toure. He's a 6'7" right shot defenseman who's a really good skater and gets around the ice really well for a big man of that size. Like I said, he was invited to camp as an unsigned, undrafted player. He played last year for the OHL Sudbury Wolves. Maybe a little bit of a late bloomer, but he gets a 3-year entry-level contract. Somebody that Pierre Dorion likely knew a fair bit about because apparently 2 seasons back in Junior A, he played on a team with Pierre Dorion's son. So certainly, like I said, probably a player that he's had more opportunities than most people to actually watch. And then after getting a chance to watch him in the rookie camp and rookie showcase games, he did show pretty well. Like you can tell, he does skate and move really well for a guy his size, and he also had a scrap and looked really good. So a huge defenseman like that, 6'7", right shot. There's lots to like there. He's definitely an interesting prospect they were able to pick up as basically as a free agent. Onto some trade talk around the NHL. There's lots of talk around the Winnipeg Jets, and I want to talk about Trevor Zegras in Anaheim here as well. Now, the Jets, of course, open training camp, and lots of questions remain on their players that were never dealt, including pending unrestricted free agents, obviously Connor Hellebuyck and Mark Scheifele. They both spoke to the media, both made some comments. Hellebuyck sounds at this point that he's very much open to anything. Made it clear that he really likes the Winnipeg Jets. He loves his team, loves his teammates, been there a long time, and he's open to staying. He said he's not closing the door on anything. The main thing with Hellebuyck is he just wants to win, and he really wants to go after a Stanley Cup. So I guess at this point, it sounds like Hellebuyck and Scheifele probably aren't going to extend with the Jets anytime soon, but I also don't think they're going to be traded anytime soon. It sounds like they're willing to kind of see where things go, kind of like what we've seen in some of the Flames players that didn't get moved either, and it's more of a wait-and-see approach at this point with the Jets. Cheveldayoff, we know, is known for being extremely patient and taking his time, doesn't want to make a panic move, which he never does, and in the Hellebuyck's case, like, if they have a good season and he's convinced they can win, he's very much open to signing an extension. Scheifele made a similar type comment saying, listen, I've been a Winnipeg Jet my whole career, been here a long time. I love it, enjoyed my time thoroughly, and I'm very much open to it. So we'll see where things go. He said he's just going to concentrating on the season and having the team do as best as possible for right now, and they'll kind of let everything kind of sort itself out. So we know the patience of a shovel day off. Now, if the Jets are not having a good campaign and are going to be out of it at the deadline, I would look to these guys maybe being movable at that point so that they can recoup assets if it's not looking favorable that they're going to come back. But until then, at this point, I would be kind of surprised if they are moved. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, with Trevor Zegras and the Anaheim Ducks, there's some information that came out from Renaud Lavoie. Now, he's a pretty well-respected reporter, works for TVA Sports out of Quebec. I'm not sure, obviously, who his sources are, but what he's saying is that the Anaheim Ducks are hardcore lowballing Trevor Zegras. We've heard a lot from NHL insiders that they're not looking at a long-term deal, and that it's likely going to be a short-term deal, probably 3 years. But the money, according to Lavoie, he's only being offered around like $4 million or so. That's big-time lowball. I mean, look at the guys like Taylor Hall and Nick Foligno in Chicago are earning that much. There's guys on the Ducks making that much that are nowhere near Trevor Zegras. I mean, he's young. He's extremely talented. He's the face of the franchise. Extremely marketable to put butts in the seats and sell tickets. They got tons of cap space. I don't understand why Pat Verbeek is playing such hardball here with Zegras and Jamie Drysdale both. Now, there's no trade rumors around Drysdale. Zegras is getting tons of attention, and those two are very good friends as well. It doesn't make any sense to me. A lot of people are royally confused why Zegras is getting such a hard go in negotiations here. Now, certainly, like I said, I can understand you don't want to overpay. But this is a young, exciting player who's put together multiple 60-point campaigns. Clearly, you should want to lock him up long term because the price is not going to go down. It's not, and I don't think you have any reason to be concerned that he's not going to be a star player for many years to come. So the Buffalo Sabres, according to Lavoie, are extremely interested in maybe kind of trying to swoop in here and see if they can't talk the Ducks into a trade. The rationale from the Sabres side of it, is that they're in win now mode. They feel they've improved enough and they got enough young talent on their side that they're able to compete for playoffs and have a chance to win. If they can pry a top young player like that to add to their roster, they're going to do it. And they have the assets to make things very interesting in the case of an offer. So clearly, Anaheim, I don't think they really want to move him, but if it gets to the point that he says he wants out or something, and if they continue to play hardball the way they are, you just don't know what it's going to take. It's confusing, but the Sabres, if they were able to land Zegras, that would be crazy. So I don't think we're at that point here as of yet that the Ducks want to move him, but they are way off on money, and if it's really that, close to the season starting, we're into training camp now, and if the gap is that big, that's really concerning. There's no reason with our team situation the way it is that they should be having guys sit out and miss time in camp or the season because they can't come to terms. Of course, we have no idea what it would take for Buffalo to pull off this trade. I'm assuming they're going to have to offer the Ducks something pretty substantial and obviously offer up, at least a couple of their great talented young players themselves and some draft picks. They have to make it worth their while, which would be interesting, but I think they have the pieces. They could make some intriguing offers, but what is Pat Verbeek doing with Zegras, and could they end up getting that relationship to the point that they don't want to be together anymore and it results in a trade? We're not there yet. That's premature to say that it could happen, but at this point you have to be concerned about it. Like I said, the gap is so big. So could Buffalo sweep in and snag Zegras from Anaheim? Or, will we see a situation like Troy Terry where things were looking pretty bleak, then all of a sudden, last minute, they up their offer and get the deal done just in the nick of time? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.